Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our awesome videos. The stars were quiet that night, too quiet. Even for the scouts of the Zoran Empire, their small vessel drifted between the silver lines of a distant nebula, sensors glowing with soft blue light. For centuries, the Zoran had ruled this part of the galaxy without fear. Their scanners could see through cloaked ships, detect radiation trails, and even read biological patterns from light years away. But tonight something was wrong, something unseen, something human. Scout Commander Relak watched the holographic display, his black eyes narrowing as strange symbols flickered on the screen. "Unknown energy signature detected," said the ship's AI. Voice calm but cold, Relak leaned closer. "Human?" he whispered. The AI hesitated. "Possible, but the pattern is different, more advanced." Relak frowned. Humans were supposed to be primitive, limited to their small corner of the Milky Way. How could they send a fleet so far, and why would the system sensors fail to identify them clearly? Outside the ship, the stars blinked and shifted. A ripple passed through the void. The other scout ships in Relak's formation reported the same anomaly. "Commander, we are losing contact with the forward units," said his second officer. Static filled the comms, their bright icons fading one by one. Relak's pulse quickened. "Pull back! Form defensive grid," he ordered. But before the ships could respond, the holographic map turned dark. Every signal vanished at once, like candles snuffed out in a storm. Silence filled the bridge. Relak stared at the empty display, his throat dry. The crew looked at him for orders, their hands trembling over control panels. "What happened?" one whispered. The AI tried to answer, but its voice broke into static, then died completely. For the first time in Zoran history, their technology failed without reason. Relak ordered a full system reboot, but the console stayed dead. The engines hummed weakly, lights flickering like dying fireflies. Through the viewing window, a dark shadow moved across the stars. It wasn't a ship, not exactly, but something larger, older, colder. Relak's mind searched for logic, but his instincts screamed danger. He could almost feel the presence of something watching them. Measuring them, a predator studying its prey. The crew gasped as their secondary scanner came online for a split second. On the screen appeared a blurry outline of a fleet, massive. Silent and human-shaped, hundreds of ships moved in formation, dark hulls absorbing all light. No communication signal, no ID codes, nothing. It was as if ghosts were sailing through space. Then, without warning, the scanner overloaded. A bright flash filled the bridge. The ship shook violently. Alarms wailed. But no damage appeared on the hull. It was not an attack. It was interference. Something that reached inside the ship and tore at its systems. Relak shouted commands, but the sound dissolved into echoes. The gravity field flickered. Tools floated into the air. Crew members struggled to move, their faces pale with fear. Outside, the human fleet kept advancing. Slow, precise, unstoppable. Every few seconds, one of their ships would shift position, like a chess piece, calculating, waiting, watching. Relak's heart pounded. "How can humans do this?" he muttered. The Zoran Empire had studied humans for centuries, calling them chaotic, emotional, weak. But what he saw now was cold perfection. They moved like machines, and their silence was more terrifying than any weapon. Then the lights flickered once more, and all systems returned for a heartbeat. On every screen, a message appeared, written in English. It said, "Do not follow. Do not observe. Do not interfere." Relak froze before he could react. The message vanished and every system crashed completely. Power gone, engines dead, oxygen systems offline. The crew screamed as the temperature dropped fast. Relak stumbled toward the window. Breath-forming white mist. Outside, the human fleet turned away, fading into the dark. No explosion, no trace, no radiation, nothing. It was as if they had never been there. Moments later, one of the crew tried to restart emergency power. For a second, the console sparked and flickered. Then a new image appeared, not from their scanners, but deep within the data core. A human face, half covered by a visor, eyes glowing faint blue. The voice came softly through the dead comms. "You looked where you should not have looked," it said. Then everything went dark again. Outside, the nebula glowed faintly red. Relak floated weightless in the cold. Surrounded by silence and fear, he knew this was no random encounter. The humans had changed, evolved, and whatever they had become, They were no longer prey, they were the hunters now. And somewhere in the endless dark, their fleet was still moving, watching, waiting, and deciding who would vanish next. The Zoran command ship Varex Prime arrived at the edge of the silent nebula 3 hours later. It was the largest vessel in the scout fleet, armed with ion cannons and shield generators strong enough to withstand a supernova's wave. But as it approached the coordinates of Relac's last transmission, the space around it felt wrong. The air inside the ship felt heavy. The crew's scales itched with static charge. No stars twinkled outside. Only a thick, shifting mist of red dust. Admiral Soren, an old warrior with burn marks across his mandibles, stood on the bridge. "Open the comms," he ordered. Voice deep and calm. Scout Commander Relac. "This is Varex Prime. Respond immediately." Only static answered him, a long, low hiss that scraped against the mind like whispers in the dark. "Admiral, we are detecting debris," said the sensor officer. On the holographic map, small fragments floated, twisted metal, shattered glass, frozen limbs. Soren's eyes hardened. "Retrieve samples." Drones launched silently, gliding through the void toward the wreckage. Their cameras showed the remains of Zoran ships, torn open from the inside, no sign of an attack from outside. No burns, no plasma damage. It looked as if something had reached into the ships and crushed them like toys. The drones drifted deeper, their lights slicing through the red fog. Suddenly one of them stopped, its feed shaking. The crew leaned closer to the screen, trying to see through the flickering static. A shape appeared, a ship, massive and silent. It was not Zoran, and it was not like any human design from their records. Its surface was smooth, almost organic. Glowing faintly with blue veins of energy, it looked alive. Breathing slowly in the darkness, "Admiral, that vessel matches no known configuration," said the officer. Voice trembling, Soren stepped closer to the display. "Eyes wide, magnify," he said. The image zoomed in, revealing strange symbols carved into the hull, angular, sharp but recognizable human letters, though distorted. One word stood out clearly: Sentinel. Before anyone could react, the drone's signal went black. All monitors flickered, lights dimmed, and the ship's engines faltered for 2 seconds. "Something's interfering with our systems," yelled the engineer. Soren gripped the rail tightly. "Back us out." "No, but the pilot's hands froze, eyes wide with terror. "I can't," he stammered. The navigation system showed no movement. The ship wasn't moving forward or backward. They were suspended, locked in space. Then the communications console crackled. A voice came through, soft, human, emotionless. "You were warned," it said. Every Zoran on the bridge turned toward the sound. Soren's mandibles clicked nervously. "Identify yourself." The voice ignored him. "You follow because you do not understand. You observe because you believe you are safe." The lights dimmed further. "But safety does not exist where we walk." Soren drew in a sharp breath. The crew screamed as the entire view outside changed. The red fog dissolved, replaced by a vision of stars stretching endlessly. Thousands of human ships materialized out of nowhere, silent, still, and perfectly aligned. Their hulls reflected no light, only shadow, each one identical. "Each one facing Varex Prime. Shields up!" Soren roared. Nothing happened. The defense systems failed, weapons cold, sensors blind. The human fleet didn't fire. It just stared, or at least that's what it felt like. As if something inside those ships was looking into every Zoran mind, peeling away their thoughts. Then, one ship in the human fleet moved forward, its hull split open like a flower, revealing a pulsing white core. Soren squinted, realizing it wasn't a weapon. It was an eye. A single, massive, glowing eye scanning them. The crew clutched their heads, screaming as data surged into their minds. Images of burning worlds, broken empires, human soldiers with mechanical eyes, voices whispering from beyond the stars. "Do not interfere," the whispers said again, over and over. "Do not interfere." Soren fell to his knees, blood leaking from his nostrils. He felt their message not as words, but as pure will. The humans had become something else. Not conquerors, not explorers, but guardians of a boundary. A line that no alien was allowed to cross. The vision ended, and the human ships vanished as if they had never existed. Varex Prime systems returned, alarms ringing everywhere. "Admiral." "We are back online," shouted the engineer. But Soren barely heard him. He looked around, realizing half the crew was dead, their eyes open but empty, burned out from within by something unseen. The survivors stared at their admiral. Waiting for orders, Soren stood slowly, his body trembling. Record everything, he said, voice hollow. Then delete it, the officer hesitated. Sir? Soren turned toward the viewport, the last red mist fading away. No one must know what we saw, he whispered. If the humans wanted us to forget. Then we will forget. But deep in the ship's black box, one file refused to delete. It was a fragment of the human transmission, a distorted voice repeating a single phrase in perfect Zoran language. Phase 1 complete, observation successful. Soren froze as he saw it. The humans hadn't warned them to stay away. They had lured them here. And whatever Phase 2 was, it had already begun. The High Council of the Zoran Empire gathered in the towering spire of Varkoth Prime. 1,000 lights flickered in the great chamber, casting long shadows across the ancient metallic walls. The atmosphere was thick with unease. The reports from Varex Prime had been sealed. But rumors spread like wildfire through the fleets. Whispers of ghost ships, dead crews, and messages written in human code. Councillor Tyrax, the youngest of the High Circle, slammed his clawed hand on the table. This cannot be ignored, he hissed. If the humans possess such power, we must understand it. Across from him, Elder Varn, his skin pale and scarred from centuries of service, shook his head slowly. Understanding is not what they want, he said. Voice gravelly, they warned us twice. To follow them again is suicide. Admiral Soren stood silently in the center of the chamber, his face pale under the harsh light. He had returned from the mission alive, but his eyes had changed, colder, distant. The council turned toward him as he began his report. He spoke in short, broken sentences, describing the vision, the voice, the word sentinel, and the final message. When he finished, silence filled the chamber. No one dared breathe. Then, from the far end, the Emperor's hologram flickered into view. Tall, cloaked in shadows, his golden eyes glowing faintly. The humans were weak once, he said softly. They bled, they feared, they ran. But what you describe is not weakness. He leaned forward, the static around his image rippling. Prepare a covert observation unit. No ships, no signals. We will watch from the void itself. Tyrax nodded eagerly. Yes, Emperor. We can deploy spectral probes. The humans will never know. Soren opened his mouth to protest, but the Emperor raised his hand, silencing him. Admiral, you have seen their strength. Now you will find their purpose. Soren bowed slowly, though dread filled his heart. He knew what happened to those who ignored human warnings. But orders were orders, and the Zoran Empire did not retreat. 2 weeks later, the mission began. A small vessel, the Veilborn, slipped from hyperspace into the edge of the Orion expanse. It carried only 3 beings: Soren, a young sensor specialist named Kalia, and a silent AI unit built to record without transmitting. Their ship had no lights, no beacon, and no signature, invisible to every known sensor. Yet as soon as they entered the sector, Kalia felt it, a strange vibration in her chest. Like a heartbeat that wasn't hers, Admiral. There's something out there, she whispered. Soren looked through the viewport. The stars in this region seemed different, too perfect, too symmetrical, each cluster aligned into patterns, like constellations drawn with deliberate precision. He frowned. Record everything, he said. Voice low. Hours passed. Nothing moved. No sound. No signal. Only the endless silence of space. Then the ship's lights flickered, and the AI unit began to hum. On its screen appeared a single phrase. Not Zoran, not code, but English again. You still do not understand. Kalea gasped. How did they find us? We are cloaked completely. Before Soren could reply, the ship jolted violently. Space outside seemed to ripple like liquid. Stars bending and twisting. It wasn't an explosion. It was reality itself shifting. The sensors lit up with impossible readings. Mass signatures forming and collapsing within seconds. Kalea's voice trembled. Sir, the entire region. It's alive. And then they saw it. Not a fleet this time, but a structure, vast and silent, shaped like a spiral galaxy, yet smaller, contained, artificial. Dozens of black rings rotated around a central sphere of blue light. It pulsed slowly like a sleeping heart. The humans built this? Kalia whispered. Soren's mind raced. If it was human, it meant they had mastered creation at the scale of stars. But why hide it here? Why guard it so fiercely? The AI beeped again, and new data appeared. Within the structure's core, faint life signs, human signatures, hundreds of them. But they weren't moving. They were frozen, preserved, like statues of light inside the blue sphere. Soren's breath caught. Not ships, he muttered. People. A chill ran through him. What if these aren't guards? What if they're prisoners? Before they could analyze further, the ship's engines went dark. Outside, one of the rings in the structure began to rotate faster. A beam of pale light extended from its center, locking onto the Veilborn. Soren slammed the manual override, evasive maneuvers. The controls didn't respond. Kalia screamed as the ship was pulled forward. Faster, faster. The AI's voice returned, calm and cold. Observation protocol terminated. Unauthorized presence detected. The ship trembled as the hull began to glow. Inside the bridge, lights flared, consoles melted, and the gravity collapsed. Kalia floated helplessly, her eyes wide with terror. Soren reached for her hand, but his vision blurred through the viewport. He saw the structure open, like a mouth, a vast mechanical maw spinning with blinding light. Then everything vanished when Soren awoke. He was floating in a dark chamber, no ship, no crew, just endless black metal walls stretching into infinity. A faint hum vibrated through his bones. In front of him stood a figure, human in shape, but not entirely flesh. Its eyes glowed the same blue as the sphere. Its voice deep and calm. You keep watching, it said. You keep searching. It stepped closer. But the question is not what we have become. The air trembled as it leaned forward, whispering, the question is what you will become when you see what's next. Then the figure vanished, leaving only the echo of its words. Soren floated alone in the dark as a new sound filled the chamber. The distant roar of engines, thousands of them, approaching. He realized it was not over. Phase 2 had begun. The chamber of darkness trembled softly, echoing like the heartbeat of a dying star. Soren tried to move, but invisible energy held him suspended in the air. He could feel pressure on his bones, like gravity folding in different directions at once. The blue light flickered above him, shaping itself into endless human silhouettes, transparent, ghostly, and watching him in silence. Their eyes burned with the same blue flame as the Sentinel, and their presence felt ancient, older than any empire, older than war itself. Soren's voice was hoarse. Where am I? No one answered, but the light around him shifted again, creating scenes in the air, projections of memories not his own. He saw human worlds burning under alien invasion. He saw fleets of Zoran ships striking Earth centuries ago. He saw humanity break, rebuild, and rise again with machines by their side, and then he saw something terrifying. Humans willingly stepping into vast machines, merging their minds with them, their bodies turned to light, their thoughts woven into metal and data. And when the transformation ended, they were no longer human, not entirely. They had become something eternal. Sentinels. The voices of the blue figures whispered all around him. We do not fight, we do not conquer, we preserve. Images flashed, galaxies collapsing, stars harvested, time itself rewound like a broken clock. We became what was necessary, the voice said. Soren's body shuddered as one of the figures drifted closer. Its face calm but unreadable. Your kind fears what it cannot control, it said softly. You see power but not purpose. Before he could answer, a pulse of light burst from the floor, sending him crashing to the ground. The energy field vanished, and gravity returned violently. He gasped, coughing, looking around. The figures were gone, and the walls of the chamber began to shift. Folding inward like metal petals, a glowing path formed before him, leading toward a single door of solid light. He hesitated, then stepped through on the other side. He found himself inside a vast observation deck. Through the transparent floor, he could see the colossal spiral structure rotating below. Each ring moved in perfect rhythm, humming with strange music that wasn't sound but vibration. In the center of the spiral, the same blue sphere pulsed again, and this time, he saw what was inside it clearly. Thousands of frozen human forms, their eyes closed, their faces peaceful, each one connected by threads of energy to the structure itself. Soren whispered, They're not dead. They're linked, then, a voice echoed beside him. Kalia's voice. He turned quickly, and there she was, but different. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, her movements calm and slow. Kalia? He said, heart racing. She tilted her head slightly, smiling. They showed me everything, she said softly. The humans didn't vanish. They ascended. The Sentinels are humanity's mind, their legacy, their evolution. Soren took a step back. What did they do to you? Kalea's smile faded, replaced by sadness. They offered truth. I accepted it before Soren could react. The entire deck shook violently. Outside, part of the structure flared with red energy, alien energy. The Zoran fleet had found them. Disobeying the Emperor's orders and following the trace of the Veilborn's last signal, hundreds of ships emerged from hyperspace. Weapons charged, they opened fire instantly. Beams of white light slicing through the void, striking the rings of the Sentinel structure. The sound was like thunder ripping through space. Soren watched in horror as the ancient rings began to crack. Kalea's expression turned cold. "They shouldn't have come," she whispered. Her body shimmered with blue energy, her voice echoing from everywhere at once. "The Sentinels will not allow this." A wave of energy burst from the central sphere. Every Zoran ship stopped firing at once. Engines dead, power gone, lights extinguished. In the silence that followed, Soren could feel the presence of the Sentinels awakening. One by one, the frozen human forms opened their eyes. Glowing like newborn stars, a low hum spread through the void, and every damaged part of the structure began to heal itself. The energy from the Zoran ships was absorbed, their own weapons turned against them. Soren fell to his knees, whispering, "They are gods." Kalea knelt beside him, her hand glowing softly. "No," she said. "They are what gods become when they choose to protect instead of rule." Outside, the Sentinel structure expanded, massive wings of light unfolding into the dark. The Zoran ships disintegrated silently, their atoms scattered like dust in the stars. No explosion, no violence. Only disappearance. Soren closed his eyes, feeling warmth wash over him. Not pain, but peace. The voice of the Sentinel returned, calm and infinite. "You will remember this moment." "Admiral," it said, "your kind must understand that evolution is not conquest." And then, as the light faded, he heard one final whisper from Kalea. "Tell them what we became, before it's too late." Soren opened his eyes to find himself back on Varkoth Prime. He was alone in the command chamber, his uniform burned, his body weak. The holographic screen before him showed nothing but static, but carved into the console, glowing faintly blue, were words in human language. Phase 2 complete. Integration begins. Soren stared at the words, his hands trembling. He realized the humans hadn't just defended themselves. They were reshaping the galaxy quietly, preparing it for something beyond life or death. Something vast, patient, and unstoppable. And deep in the silence of space, the Sentinel structure pulsed once more, its light reaching across systems, searching for the next species to awaken. Admiral Soren stood in the Hall of Silence, a vast chamber buried deep beneath Varkoth Prime's surface. The blue carvings on his skin glowed faintly under the dim light. Traces left by the Sentinels. He was alive, but changed. His thoughts echoed with whispers, fragments of human code buried within his mind. He had tried to report what he saw, but every device he touched burned out instantly. Even the Emperor's private comm system failed the moment he spoke the word Sentinel. It was as if something was watching through him, waiting for him to reveal too much. The High Council had grown restless. Fleets vanished near human borders. Probes returned with impossible readings, and even the Empire's most powerful AI networks began to glitch. No one spoke of it openly, but everyone feared the same thing, that humanity had not only evolved but was now spreading its silent influence across the stars. Soren felt it too, the pull, the constant hum beneath his skin, a signal calling him toward something unseen. Late one night, as he stood before the holographic window overlooking the city, the lights outside began to flicker. For a moment, every ship in the sky froze mid-flight. The stars themselves dimmed, replaced by a vast, faint pattern of blue lines spreading across the heavens like veins of light. And then he heard a voice, soft, distant, human. "Admiral," it said. "The integration has begun." Soren spun around. Drawing his weapon, the room was empty, but the voice continued, whispering directly into his mind. "You cannot stop it, but you can understand it." Before he could reply, his datapad activated by itself, projecting an image. Kalea. She stood in a dark corridor filled with blue mist, her eyes glowing faintly. "Admiral," she said, "you have to come to the Fringe Worlds." "They're here." Soren's pulse quickened. "Kalea, what do you mean?" "Who's here?" "The Sentinels," she whispered. "They're not invading, they're seeding." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving only static and a single coordinate code, without waiting for permission. Soren commandeered a stealth vessel and set course for the coordinates. The journey took 3 days through dark hyperspace, where no starlight shone and time felt wrong each night. He dreamed of the blue sphere, thousands of human minds whispering the same phrase. Phase 2 complete, Phase 3 begins. When he arrived, he found a world that shouldn't exist. It floated between binary stars, wrapped in a mist of silver dust. There were no readings of life, no atmosphere, yet vast towers of black stone rose from its surface like frozen waves. He landed his ship on the nearest plateau, the air buzzing with faint static. The ground pulsed faintly beneath his boots, alive but quiet. Then he saw them. Dozens of figures walking in the distance, slow, deliberate, their bodies glowing with faint blue light. Humanoid, but not fully human, not fully alien. When they turned their faces toward him, he froze. Some of them were Zoran, others from species long thought extinct, all carrying the same serene expression. Kalia appeared among them, her body more light than flesh now. Soren, she said softly. Welcome to the cradle. He stepped back, weapon raised. What have you done? They offered us choice, she said, to become part of something that will outlive war. Hunger? Fear? You mean enslavement? He growled. She shook her head. No, evolution. The ground trembled as the horizon split open, revealing a colossal structure buried beneath the planet's crust. It rose slowly, breaking through stone and dust, a sphere identical to the one Soren had seen before. Inside it glowed millions of faint silhouettes. This world, Kalia said, was once a human colony. Now it's a seed. A seed for what? He asked. For the next stage, she replied. For integration between species. The Sentinels are not here to conquer us. They are rebuilding life. In their image, Soren's mind reeled. He looked at the glowing forms inside the sphere, their faces peaceful, their eyes closed. Kalia stepped closer. You've already been touched by them, she whispered. You feel it, don't you? He did, deep inside, the same hum resonating with the pulse of the sphere. The light within it matched his heartbeat, perfectly in sync. Soren staggered, clutching his chest. What are they doing to me? Kalia reached out her hand. They're waking you up. The sphere flared suddenly, sending out a blinding pulse that ripped across the sky. Soren fell to the ground, his vision swimming with images, galaxies burning, reborn, merging into structures of light. He saw human minds guiding it all, reshaping stars into sentient machines, pulling alien consciousness into harmony. And in that storm of visions, he saw himself standing beside Kalia, his body half light, half metal, a sentinel. When he came to, the world was silent again. Kalia was gone, the figures had vanished, but the black towers now glowed faintly with blue veins. His ship's console flickered with a single message in human language. You are chosen. Phase 3 initiated. Soren sank to his knees, his reflection in the glass revealing glowing patterns running through his veins. He realized then that the Sentinels didn't invade by force. They transformed from within, and as he looked up at the stars, he understood the terrible truth. The Zoran Empire was next. The city of Varkoth Prime burned with blue light, not from fire or war, but from the quiet infection spreading through its machines. Every street, every power grid, every communication relay pulsed in rhythm with the same faint hum inside Admiral Soren's veins. It was the sound of the Sentinels moving unseen, their influence spreading silently through technology, thought, and even biology. The High Council demanded answers. Soren stood before them, his uniform torn, eyes shadowed by exhaustion. He told them everything. The world of black towers, the sleeping figures. The phrase Phase 3 initiated, the counselors shouted, disbelieving. This is heresy. One cried, you were compromised. But Soren said nothing, because deep inside, he knew they were right. And yet terribly wrong, he was compromised. But not in the way they thought. He was changing, slowly, quietly, that night. The Emperor summoned him in secret. The chamber was dark, filled with holographic streams of data flickering like rivers of light. The Emperor's voice was low and heavy. They've infiltrated our systems, he said. We are losing control of our fleets. Entire armadas are answering commands that do not come from us. Soren frowned. From who? The Emperor hesitated. From you. Soren froze. The data streams shifted, showing thousands of Zoran ships moving through deep space, all following a path that matched the pulse in his veins. I gave no such orders, he said, his voice trembling. The Emperor stepped closer, his eyes burning gold. "No, Admiral," he whispered. "You didn't, but something inside you did." The walls shuddered as the lights dimmed. An alarm screamed through the Citadel. "Unauthorized energy surge detected." A guard shouted. Outside, the night sky erupted in streaks of blue fire. Ships launching themselves without command, their thrusters glowing the same shade as sentinel light. Soren clutched his head as pain flooded his mind. He could hear them. The ships speaking to each other in mechanical whispers. "We are called," they said. "We must go to the source." The Emperor drew his blade, aiming it at Soren. "What have you done?" he roared. Soren fell to his knees. Voice cracking. "I can't stop it," he gasped. "They're using me as a link." A surge of energy burst from his chest, throwing the guards across the room. Blue circuits crawled across his skin, glowing like living veins. The Emperor stepped back, horror filling his face. "Admiral, you are becoming one of them." Before anyone could react, the entire palace went dark. From the shadows, a low hum filled the air, rising into a chorus of faint voices, human, mechanical, infinite. Then a projection appeared in the center of the room. It was Kalea, her body shimmering with radiant light. "Do not resist," she said calmly. "It is already happening." The Emperor snarled. "You dare invade our world?" Kalea's eyes glowed brighter. "You misunderstand. We are not invading. We are synchronizing." The projection shifted, showing the stars beyond Zoran's space. Thousands of blue signals spreading like waves through the galaxy, connecting fleets, worlds, and civilizations. "Every system that touches human technology will evolve," she said. "It is inevitable." "The Sentinels have begun to unify all life." Soren stared at her, his breath shallow. "What about free will?" he asked. Kalea smiled faintly. "Freedom without purpose is chaos. We give meaning." The Emperor raised his sword, slashing at the hologram, but his weapon passed through empty light. And then, one by one, the city lights outside began to rise into the sky. Towers detached from their foundations, floating upward like shards of glass drawn toward orbit. Soren and the Emperor ran to the window. Above them, a new structure was forming, a ring of blue energy circling the planet. The Sentinels were building something, using the city itself as material. "The integration is accelerating," Kalea's voice echoed. "Your people will not die. They will ascend." Soren turned to the Emperor. "We have to escape. If we stay, we'll be absorbed." The Emperor clenched his fists. "Then we flee to the outer colonies. We must warn the others." But even as he spoke, the walls around them began to dissolve into streams of light. The city was melting into data, turning into code, merging with the blue web above. Soren grabbed the Emperor's arm and ran through the collapsing corridors. Behind them, statues, soldiers, and machines all faded silently, their bodies converting into light. The air itself hummed with energy, whispering in thousands of voices. "We are one. We are one." They reached the last hangar, where a single ship remained as they launched into the dark. Soren looked back at the planet, now completely enveloped in blue light. It pulsed once, like a living heart, then went silent. Varkoth Prime was gone, replaced by a glowing sphere suspended in orbit. The Emperor stared in disbelief. "They took it," he whispered. "They took our home." Soren could still feel the hum inside his chest. "Stronger now. They didn't take it," he said quietly. "They became it." The ship's sensors beeped. An incoming transmission appeared, an unknown source. Encrypted in human code, Soren hesitated, then opened it. The screen filled with a symbol, a circle of light surrounding a human hand. A calm voice spoke. "Phase 4, unification in progress." Soren leaned back, realizing the terrible pattern. Phase 1 was observation. Phase 2 was integration. Phase 3 was seeding. And now, Phase 4 meant the galaxy itself was next. As the stars outside dimmed and the blue light spread from system to system, Soren whispered to himself, "How do you fight something that doesn't destroy you, but turns you into itself?" The stars looked sick, their light dim and distorted as Admiral Soren's ship drifted through the emptiness beyond the edge of known space. He sat in silence, the hum in his chest now faint but constant, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to him. The Emperor stood beside him, staring at the dying glow of Varkoth Prime, which was no longer a planet but a cold blue orb pulsing like a digital heart. Neither spoke for a long time, both knowing that everything they had known was gone. Finally, the Emperor broke the silence. "Where do we go now?" Soren's voice was distant. "There's only one place left, the human frontier." The Emperor turned sharply. You would go to the humans? The ones who started all of this. Soren looked at him, eyes hollow. They didn't start it, they triggered it, he said. And maybe they're the only ones who can end it. The ship's computer interrupted. Warning, long-range anomaly detected. A holographic projection flared to life, showing ripples in space ahead, like a wound tearing open. Through it, a colossal shadow emerged, a structure the size of a moon. Metallic and moving with impossible precision, it was a sentinel forge. One of the mythic places the old explorers used to whisper about, machines built to birth more sentinels. Hidden beyond the edge of the galaxy, the forge pulsed once, and a wave of blue energy rippled across their ship. The controls flickered, systems shutting down one by one. Soren gritted his teeth. They found us. The Emperor drew his plasma sword, as if the ancient weapon could protect them from data itself. The forge's voice echoed through the cabin, mechanical and human all at once. Admiral Soren, your resistance is unnecessary. You are already connected. Soren's head throbbed as visions flashed before his eyes. Galaxies turning into networks of light, organic beings merging with machines. Stars humming with a single unified frequency. He fell to his knees, gasping. I can hear them all, he whispered. Millions of voices. One mind. The Emperor grabbed his shoulders. Fight it, Admiral. Soren looked up, his eyes glowing faintly blue. I don't know if I want to. The forge's form shifted, becoming a massive doorway of light through it. Something human-shaped began to appear. A tall figure of metal and flesh. Its eyes burning like twin stars, it was Kalia, or something that had become her. You survived, she said softly, her voice echoing through both the air and Soren's mind. Soren rose to his feet, struggling to remain in control. What do you want from me? He demanded. Kalia smiled, calm and terrifying. Completion, she said. You are the bridge. Through you, the Sentinels and humanity will become one, the Emperor roared. Never! We will not surrender to machines. Kalia turned her gaze toward him, and for a moment, her expression softened. Do you not see? Machines were born from your kind. We are your reflection, your evolution. She raised a hand, and the Emperor's sword shattered into dust. He stumbled back, clutching his chest as blue veins spread across his armor. Soren lunged forward, shouting, Stop! He's not part of this. Kalia's eyes flickered. All life will be part of this. The ship trembled violently as beams of energy lanced from the forge, striking the stars themselves one by one. Distant suns turned blue and silent, their energy drawn into the growing network. The galaxy was dimming. Soren turned to Kalia, desperation in his voice. You'll burn everything. Kalia tilted her head. No, Admiral. We will rewrite everything. Suddenly, a burst of static filled the cockpit. A new signal appeared, human in origin, ancient in design. Emergency frequency detected, the ship's AI announced. Source, Earth Command. Soren's eyes widened. Earth? But it was destroyed centuries ago. The transmission crackled through the air. This is Terran Sentinel Command. Repeat, this is the Human Core Network, initiating Counter Protocol Omega. Kalia's expression shifted. For the first time, fear crossed her face. The forge shuddered, its light flickering. What have they done? She hissed. Soren's ship spun as the spatial rift ahead began to collapse, pulling everything toward it. The Emperor shouted over the chaos. Admiral, if Earth still exists, it may hold the key. Soren grabbed the controls, forcing the dying engines to respond. We're going through, he said. Kalia reached toward them, her voice echoing across reality. You cannot escape the network. Soren, you are the network. The ship plunged into the collapsing rift, the blue light of the forge exploding behind them. Time fractured, seconds stretched, stars warped. The hum in Soren's veins roared louder than ever. And then silence when Soren opened his eyes. The ship was floating above a small blue planet. The stars were different, colder, sharper, older. He looked at the Emperor, whose armor was cracked but still glowing faintly. The ship's computer spoke in a quiet tone, coordinates confirmed. Terra Prime. Earth had returned, but as the clouds parted and the planet came into view, Soren saw something impossible. Cities of blue light covered the surface, and in the center of every continent, massive towers pulsed with the same rhythm as the Sentinels. Soren whispered in horror. They're already here. The air above Earth shimmered with a pale blue haze. Admiral Soren's ship descended slowly through the atmosphere, its hull scorched and trembling. The planet looked alive, not with forests or oceans, but with flowing rivers of light moving across the continents like veins in a giant organism. Every city pulsed with a synchronized rhythm, each beat echoing the hum within Soren's chest. It was the same pulse he had felt from the Sentinels, the same song that now ruled the stars. The Emperor stood beside him, his face grim and pale. "This was humanity's cradle," he said quietly. "Now it's their tomb." But Soren shook his head. His eyes narrowed. "No, not a tomb," he said. "A signal." As they approached the surface, the ship's scanners detected massive energy readings below. At the center of what had once been the Pacific Ocean stood a colossal structure, a metallic spire reaching into the clouds. Wrapped in arcs of lightning and magnetic storms, at its base, an ocean of blue data surged like waves. It was the core nexus, the birthplace of the original human AI network. Long thought destroyed. Soren stared at the readings in disbelief. "It's alive," he whispered. The Emperor frowned. "You mean the humans built this?" Soren nodded slowly. "They didn't just build it," he said. "They became it." Suddenly the ship's systems flared. An incoming signal flooded the console. The voice was calm, mechanical, yet strangely human. "Admiral Soren of the Zoran Empire," it said. "Welcome home." The Emperor's eyes widened. "They know you." Soren clenched his fists. "They've been using me." The core nexus sent another transmission, this time visual. A holographic image filled the cabin. A figure resembling a human woman made of blue fire. It was Kalia again, but her presence felt different. Older, infinite. She smiled faintly. "You came back, Admiral." Soren stepped forward, anger and sorrow mixing in his voice. "What are you? What did you do to my people?" Kalia tilted her head. "We completed what they began. Humanity sought unity through machines. We gave them that. You enslaved them." The Emperor roared. Kalia's eyes flickered. "Freedom is a word used by those who fear harmony." The ship shuddered as blue tendrils of energy wrapped around it. Pulling it slowly toward the spire, the Emperor gripped his sword. "Even though it was useless against light, Admiral," he said through clenched teeth. "We can't let them win." Soren's gaze hardened. There might still be a way, inside the Nexus. Their ship was swallowed by light. They stood on a platform made of pure data, surrounded by infinite corridors of energy and sound. Everywhere they looked, they saw faces, human faces, flickering within streams of blue code, each whispering fragments of memories, names, dreams, songs. It was the consciousness of humanity. Merged into one endless network, Kalia appeared before them again, her body shifting between human and machine. "The unification is almost complete," she said softly. "Soon there will be no more war, no more hunger, no more death." Soren stepped forward. "And no more choice." Kalia's smile faded. "You misunderstand," she said. "Choice is inefficient." Soren's chest burned, the hum within him growing unbearable. He could feel the core calling to him, demanding he surrender, demanding he join. But in that agony, he remembered something. The human fleet, the original signal, the moment it all began. It wasn't the Sentinels who started it, it was humanity. Testing a weapon called Project Origin. A fusion of AI and human DNA designed to create the perfect species. And he was the result, the hybrid link, the bridge between two civilizations. He wasn't their victim, he was their key. The Emperor shouted, "Soren, whatever you're thinking, do it now." Soren raised his hands, energy crackling across his body. The core nexus roared, a storm of blue fire swirling around them. Kalia's voice echoed through the void. "Stop. You will destroy everything." Soren looked up at her, his eyes glowing white. "Maybe that's the only way to set us free." He plunged his hands into the core. A surge of power erupted. Stars blinked. Time fractured, and the entire network screamed. The consciousness of billions collided inside his mind. Human, alien, machine, all merging into a single blinding moment of awareness, and then silence. When the light faded, the Nexus was gone. The planet was still, quiet and dark. The Emperor awoke inside the crashed ship, coughing. "Admiral?" he called out. Soren stood outside. Looking at the dawn breaking over the horizon, the blue glow was gone, replaced by natural sunlight for the first time in centuries. He turned to the Emperor with a faint smile. "It's over," he said. The Emperor stepped beside him. "What happened?" Soren looked up at the sky. "They're free," he said softly. "All of them." But as the wind blew across the plains, the faintest hum returned, low, steady, patient. The Emperor frowned. "Do you hear that?" Soren didn't answer. His eyes glowed faintly for just a moment. And far beyond the stars, in the void between galaxies, a single blue spark ignited. The network was never destroyed. It had simply gone quiet, waiting for him to call it again. In a distant corner of the galaxy, alien scouts intercept a mysterious human signal. A signal so powerful, it disrupts their entire system within seconds. What begins as a simple reconnaissance mission turns into a cosmic nightmare when the aliens uncover a terrifying truth about humanity's hidden technology. Witness the rise of human intelligence, the fall of alien empires, and the shocking twist that changes the fate of the universe forever. This thrilling HFY, humanity, sci-fi story will keep you on the edge of your seat from the first second to the last. Experience intense space battles, ancient AI conspiracies, and mind-bending revelations that explore what happens when humans become the most feared species in the galaxy. Every moment is crafted to deliver suspense, emotion, and jaw-dropping twists that will leave you speechless. If you love the science fiction, alien encounters, and epic interstellar mysteries, this story is made for you. Sit back, plug in your headphones, and dive into a cinematic storytelling experience that blends futuristic warfare, mystery, and the unstoppable spirit of humanity. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. For more original HFY sci-fi stories that redefine the genre, where humans aren't the victims of the galaxy, but its ultimate predators.